In this video, the Group 5 will be going to discuss the pre-colonial marriage patterns, dance, and songs. Good afternoon to all of you. Today I am going to discuss about the pre-colonial marriage patterns in the Philippines. So dito tatalakayin ko ano-ano ba yung mga naganap noon sa Pilipinas when it comes to marriage. Marriages were arranged between families of the same social status for their teenage children. Parents negotiated the marriages because of the alliance in property arrangements. So, basically noon, uso ang arranged marriage. Bakit? Dahil sa kanilang mga ari-arian, sa mga napagkasunduan ng mga magulang. At nakalagay dito, marriages were arranged between families of the same social status. So kung ikaw ay kabilang sa mga timawa, mapapakasal ka rin sa kapwa mo timawa. And then, the groom was required to pay his future father-in-law a dowry or yung tinatawag na bigay kaya or free work in the latter's house of the farm at tinatawag yun na maninirahan. They were expected to freely engage in premarital sex relations. So dati, kahit hindi pa nagaganap yung ritual o yung kasal, pwede o hindi nila pinagbabawal na magtalik na agad yung dalawa. Kasi nakalagay dito, they were expected to freely engage in premarital sex relations. Couples' first duty is to produce children. Let's expand this. Marriage and wedding ceremonies depending upon the social status. So before nakadepende yung kasal at yung magiging seremonya ng kasal sa kung ano yung estado o kung nasaan silang antas sa lipunan noon. So examples, marriage of the chief and nobles, marriage among the timaguas, timawas or freemen, and lastly, marriage among the slaves and commoners. So mapapansin nyo, yung una, yung chiefs and nobles, sila yung mga nasa pinaka matataas. Nasa mataas na antas na sila at sa pangatlo, yung slaves, yung pinaka mababang antas ng lipunan noon. Now let us talk about wedding and marriage ceremonies in pre-colonial times in the Philippines. It is long and laborious. So noon, mahabang proseso bago mo mapakasalan ang isang babae na iyong nagugustuhan. Meron ka muna mga kailangang pagdaanan o gawin bago yung kasal o yung ritual. So sabi dito, it starts by or with the man announcing to the whole tribe that he desired someone. So dun muna magsisimula. Kailangan mo nang i-announce nung lalaki kung sino yung gusto niyang pakasalan doon sa tribo or doon sa lugar nila. He shoots a spear in front of the house or at the stairs of the house of the one he desires. It's a ritual to announce to all. So, isa yon sa ginagawa nila before. Ginagawa para i-announce kung sino yung nagugustuhan niyang pakasalan. While doing this, he also calls to the diwatas and anitos. So, habang ginagawa niya yun, tinatawag niya rin yung mga diwata at anito na pinaniniwalaan na kanilang mga ancestors. Once the announcement and invocation has made, and if the head of the family agrees, they now must plan the wedding. So, pagkatapos niyang i-announce kung sino yung gusto niyang pakasalan at nag-agree na yung head ng family, pwede na silang mag-proceed sa pagpaplano ng kasal. Once the marriage is planned, the groom's family must offer a dowry to the bride's family. They can range from domestic animals like chicken, pigs, and others to gold to land. The dowry is discussed between both families until both agree. So may mangyayari na bigayan ng mga animals, mga alay, o kung ano man na pwedeng ibigay nung groom's family sa family ng babae, sa family ng bride. At hanggang sa mag-agree silang pareho. Both families agreed hanggang um, maging okay na yung binigay ng lalaki, saka sila magpo-proceed dun sa kasal. Besides the dowry, the groom had to serve the bride's parents for a certain amount of time, ranging from a couple weeks to months to even a year. They had to help in preparing food, assist in the sowing of the rice and harvest, and other chores to prove that he is capable of supporting his wife and family. So, bukod pa pala dun sa binibigay na dowry o yung mga alay, mga pambigay ng groom dun sa family ng babae, ng bride, meron pa palang kailangan gawin yung groom. So, kailangan niya pang pagsilbihan yung magulang ng babae sa certain amount of time na nagre-range daw ng couple of weeks, ng months, at even a year. So, kailangan niya tumulong sa prepare ng pagkain at sa kung ano pa na pwede niyang maitulong doon sa pamilya ng babae, at kailangan niyang patunayan na kaya niyang suportahan yung kanyang mapapangasawa at ang pamilya. Next, with the dowry agreed upon, presented and offered by both families of the bride and the groom, the next step is setting the date of the wedding. So, pagkatapos nilang mag-agree dun sa dowry, pagkatapos mapagkasunduan ng pamilya ng bride at pamilya ng groom, yung next naman ay pag-uusapan nila kung kailan gaganapin ang kasal. And the wedding ceremony takes 3 days, every with the member of the clan involved in the preparation. So, yung kasal ay ginaganap ng 3 araw. Now, observe the picture. Sa picture na yan, makikita na ikinakasal sila ng babaylan. At sila iinom sa iisang kahoy na lalagyan kung saan nandun yung blood at nahinaluan ng tubig. So, i-discuss ko mamaya kung anong tawag doon. Now, let us talk about the 3 days wedding ceremony. On the first day, the bride and the groom are carried separately in a procession moving towards the babaylan's house where the wedding rites takes place. So, yung babaylan, siya yung tinatawag na high priest, at sa kanyang bahay ginaganap ang kasal. The priest joins their hands on a plate of raw rice and blesses them. This is followed by the start of feasting until the next day. And then the second day, the groom and bride are again before the priest, and this time a blood compact is performed. With the thorn at hand, pricks their chest to draw a little blood. He later joins their hands and bathes them, declaring thrice their love for each other. He then feeds them cooked rice for the same plate and makes them drink from the wooden cup of the blood drawn from both, mixed with a little water. Binding their hands and neck together with a cord, he declares, "This man is now one with the woman." Pagkatapos nilang mabind yung kamay at yung leeg gamit ang cord, dinedeclare naman nung babaylan na sabi, "This man is now one with the woman, and let all of you be witnesses to this union." So, lahat ng ang kanila doon ay mawi-witness o makikita, masasaksihan yung kasalan. Like the exchange of the rings in Christian ceremony, the couple then gave each other a jewel. So, kung sa Christian ceremony, nag-aalay sa isa't isa ng singsing, doon naman, yung isa't isa ay mag-aalay ng jewel. So, magbibigayan sila sa isa't isa ng jewel imbes na singsing. This ritual called taling buhol signaled the completion of the wedding and the start yet another round of wedding feasts anywhere from 1 to 2 weeks or for as long as the groom's largest held out. On the third day, the last day of the feasting, the bride, ceremoniously bathed by her godmothers and decked again in her wedding finery, is solemnly and finally delivered to her husband in their new home. So pagkatapos siyang um, mabad o lagyan ng seremonya, magawa yung seremonya ng mga godmothers niya sa kanya, ay saka pa lang siya dadalhin doon sa bahay nilang mag-asawa at doon na sila titira. And that's all for my presentation about the pre-colonial marriage patterns in the Philippines. And later on, my groupmate will going to discuss additional informations about.
I'm Rosanne Kapule, and I'm here today to additional information about marriage pattern during pre-colonial times. Marriage pattern during pre-colonial times. A typical Asian traditional Filipino wedding during pre-colonial times is held from 3 days and was officiated by a babaylan. Babaylan is a tribal priest or priestess. Or babaylan refers to the pre-colonial Philippine tradition of female mystical healers whose spiritual connectedness was a source of political and social power. Babaylan women serve as intermediaries between spiritual and material worlds in their communities. The house of Babaylan was the ceremonial center for the nuptial. On the first day of wedding, the couple was brought to the priest's homes where the babaylan blesses them while their hands are joined over a container of uncooked rice. On the second day, the priest would prick their chest to draw a small amount of blood, which will be placed on a container to be mixed with water. After announcing their love for each other 3 times, they were fed by the priest with cooked rice coming from a single container. Afterwards, they were to drink the water was mixed with their blood. The priest proclaimed that they are officially wed after their necks and hands were bound by a cord or sometimes once their long hairs had been intertwined together. In lieu of a bailan, the dato or wise elder may also officiate a pre-colonial Filipino wedding. After the ceremony, a series of gift-exchanging rituals was also done to contain the negative response of the bride. If asked to enter her new home, if she refused to go up the stair of dwelling, if she denies to participate in the marriage bouquet, or even to go into her new bedroom, a room she would be sharing with her spouse. The ceremony in pre-colonial days, a wedding ceremonies lasted 3 days. On the first day, the bride and groom were brought to the house of the priest or babaylan, who joined their hands over a plate or raw rice and blessed the couple. On the third day, the priest pricked the chest of both bride and groom and drew a little blood. Joining their hands, they declared their love from each other 3 times. The priest then fed them cooked rice from the same plate and gave them a drink of some of their blood mixed with water. Binding their hands and necks with a cord, he declared them married. The majority of Filipino weddings are now Catholic weddings, but some native traditions remain. Most have special sponsor who acts as witness to the marriage. The principal sponsor could be godparents, counselors, a favorite uncle, and even a parent. A wedding witness is a person who observed the wedding ceremony and signed the paperwork afterwards. Witnesses were historically required to make sure that the wedding was done legally, that neither party was being forced into the marriage, and that the officiant carried out their job correctly. The secondary sponsors handle special parts of the ceremony, such as the candle, cord, and veil ceremonies. The candle sponsor light two candles which the bride and groom used to light a single candle to symbolize the joining of two families and to invoke the light of Christ in their married life. Then I will compare about pre-colonial, Filipino, and traditional wedding sponsors symbolize, including candle. The lighting of this candle is a ceremonial acknowledgement of the vows exchanged by the bride and groom that have united them in marriage. This single flame signifies that marriage is joining of two people who have chosen to share life together rather than individuals' lives. Veil sponsor place a white veil over the bride's head and the groom's shoulders as symbolize of two people clothed as one. The veil came to symbolize modesty and obedience. In many religions, it's seen as a symbol of reverence from women to cover their hands. The cord sponsor draped the yugal or decorative silk cord in a figure eight shape to symbolize everlasting fidelity over the shoulders of the bride and groom. This cord symbolizes lifetime unity or the everlasting union of the bride and groom when they officially become husband and wife, as well as symbolize of marital protection while the loops formed signifies their love from one another. The groom gives the bride 13 coins or araya blessed by the priest as the sign of his dedication to his wife, well-being, and the welfare of their future children. These are example of 13 coins or arahe. 13 coins, or either gold or silver, represent Christ and his 12 apostles. It is a simple ceremony where the bridegroom gives the bride these coins to represent his responsibility as a provider and his trust in his bride with his material possession. Usually a few words or vows are exchanged. That's all. Thank you.
The pre-colonial family dances. The pre-colonial, prior the written history of the Philippines, before the Spanish conquered and Christianized the general population, they danced to appease the gods, to curry favor from powerful spirits, to celebrate a hunt or harvest, to mimic the exotic life forms around them. They danced their stories and their shamanic rituals, their rites of passage, and the remembered legends and histories. Ayon sa history, ginawa nila itong mga sayaw na ito upang magpasalamat o humiling sa kanilang pinaniniwalaang Diyos, kagaya ng paghiling sa maraming ani ng mga magsasaka. Ito ang ilan sa pre-colonial dances na aking nakalap. Rural and folk dances. Tinikling, gaway-gaway, dugso, soten, lawin-lawin, pagdiwata, singkil, maglalatik, at pandango sa ilaw. Tinikling. Perhaps the best known dance in the Philippines folk dance history, the tinikling mimics the high-stepping struts of bird. Two dancers, usually male and female, gracefully step in and out of cross sets of bamboo poles being moved together and apart to the music. Next is gaway-gaway. It features the movements of children pulling the stalks of the gaway roots during a bountiful harvest. Dugso. It is a dance of the Manobos in Bukidnon of gratitude for a good harvest, or a male hare, the dance with ankle bells. Soten, a dance of male strength. Next is lawin-lawin. Is another male dance which mimics a swooping and soaring eagle. Pagdiwata. It is a trance dance featuring women dancers who enact a Thanksgiving ritual at the time of the harvest moon. The shamanic figures mine the spirits who possess them and enact a drama that can last for hours. Singkil. It is one of the most famous. It depicts the plight of a princess caught in a magical earthquake in a forest. Her faithful servant tries to shield her with a parasol as the princess gracefully dodges falling trees and is eventually saved by a prince. Maglalatik. A dance from before the conversion of the Philippines to Christianity is called the Maglalatik. It represents a fierce battle between the Moro tribesmen wearing red trousers and the Christian soldiers from the Spain wearing blue. Both groups wear harnesses with coconut shells attached tightly to their bodies, which are struck repeatedly with other shells held in the hands. And the last one is pandango sa ilaw. This dance is one of the several designed to show off the grace, balance, dexterity of the performers. 3 glasses of wine, or in modern times, water, are held in hands and on top of the dancers' heads as they move, never spilling a drop.
Hi, my name is Cadet Diana Umali and I'm going to talk about the Philippine pre-colonial folk songs. Folk song, pre-colonial period. Philippine folk music. The traditional music of the Philippines, like the folk music of our countries, reflects the life of common most rural Americans. Like its counterparts in Asia, a lot of traditional songs from the Philippines have a strong connection with nature. However, much of it employs the diatonic scales rather than the more Asian pentatonic scale. When we say folk music, it is a type of traditional and generally rural music that originally was passed down through families and other small social groups. Typically, folk music, like folk literature, lives in oral tradition. It is learned through hearing rather than reading. It is functional in the sense that it is associated with other activities, and it is primarily rural in origin. The usefulness of the concept varies from culture to culture. Philippine pre-colonial folk song classification. Traditional Philippine music is reflective of the country's history as melting pot of different cultures. A frequently used system is to classify it according to cultural division. For example, traditional Tagalog music, which is somewhat more Hispanic in flavor, differs from Ifugao music and Maranao Kulintang music. Many songs in the different Philippine languages, however, share the same tune such as the Tagalog, Magtani May Di Biro, Kapampangan, Dating Tanam Pale, and Dagadang Sopayaw. Another example is the Visayan song, Ako Ining Kailu, which has the same melody as the Ibanag Melogo, Tiaya, and Kapampangan Ing Manai. Although 90% of Filipinos claim varying degrees of English proficiency, no traditional song has ever been found to have an English as the original language of the text. The largest body of song are those using the various vernacular languages, especially the 8 major languages in the country. Many of the collected traditional songs have a translation in Filipino, the national language, but most scholars tend to ignore its existence. Gabriel is the best Filipino singer.